I didn't apply for the job. It found me. No website. No company name. Just an email. Subject line: Observer position, night shift. One line inside. You will only watch. That should have been enough to ignore it. But the pay didn't make sense. So I went. The building wasn't marked. No signs. No windows. Just a concrete structure at the edge of the city. The door opened before I knocked. A man stood there. Tall. Tired. Eyes that looked like they hadn't blinked in a while. You're here. Not a question. Yeah. He stepped aside. Come in. Inside. Dim lighting. Long corridors. Low hum of electricity running through the walls. Not quiet. Not loud. Just constant. What exactly is this job? He didn't answer immediately. You monitor. Monitor what? He stopped walking. Turned slightly. Everything that didn't happen here. My chest tightened. What? Parallel instances. That didn't help. We reached a door at the end of the hallway. Metal. Heavy. A keypad beside it. He entered a code. The door unlocked. Rules first. Of course there were rules. Inside. A control room. Dark. Cold. Filled with screens. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Each one showing something different. Cities. Rooms. People. All slightly off. Not wrong enough to notice immediately. Just different enough to feel it. On the desk. A sheet of paper. There are rules for monitoring parallel universes. My chest tightened slightly. What happens if I don't follow them? He looked at me. Directly. They notice you. My stomach dropped. Who notices? He didn't answer. Read. I picked up the paper. Rule 1, do not interact with any screen. Rule 2, do not speak to any person you see. Rule 3, if a subject looks directly at the camera, switch the feed immediately. My chest tightened. They can see the camera. Silence. Rule 4, if multiple screens show the same location, do not compare them. Rule 5, if a screen goes black, do not turn it back on. Rule 6, if you see yourself on a screen, leave the room immediately. My stomach dropped. That's not possible. He didn't react. Rule 7, do not stay past your shift. Rule 8, if a screen begins showing your room, do not turn around. My chest tightened hard. The last line. Handwritten. Uneven. If something looks back, you are already visible. Visible to what? He stepped back toward the door. Your shift starts now. You didn't explain anything. You don't need explanation. That again. He opened the door. Paused slightly. Don't let it focus. Don't let what? The door shut. Locked. I stood there. Holding the paper. This is insane. But I sat down anyway. Because the pay was real. And screens can't see you. I looked up at the monitors. At first. Everything looked normal. Different places. Different versions. One screen showed a street. Cars moving. People walking. Another? A room. Someone sitting at a desk. Typing. Another? A hallway. Empty. Lights flickering slightly. Nothing strange. Just surveillance. Then. One screen shifted. The person at the desk stopped typing. Slowly. They turned their head. My chest tightened. No. They weren't looking around. They were looking straight at the camera. At me. Rule 3. Switch the feed immediately. My hand moved fast. Hit the control. The screen changed. Gone. My breathing stayed uneven. Coincidence. But my chest didn't believe that. Because it didn't feel like coincidence. It felt like recognition. I forced myself to keep watching. Different screens. Different places. Then. Another one. A woman walking down a street. She stopped. Slowly turned. Looked directly at the camera. My chest tightened harder. I switched it instantly. Gone. Another screen. A child playing in a room. They froze. Turned. Looked straight at me. I switched it again. My breathing became shallow. This isn't random. More screens started reacting. One by one. People stopping. Turning. Looking. All directly at the camera. At me. My chest tightened violently. Because I understood something too late. They weren't just being observed. They were observing back. And then. One screen didn't change. I pressed the switch again. Nothing happened. The feed stayed. My stomach dropped. On the screen. A dark room. A chair. A desk. The same layout. My chest froze completely. Because it wasn't similar. It was identical. And in the chair. Someone was sitting. Facing the screens. But their face wasn't visible. Slowly. They started to turn. And I realized too late. That screen wasn't showing another universe. It was showing mine. The screen didn't switch. I pressed the control again. Harder this time, my thumb digging into the button as if force alone could break whatever glitch this was. Nothing. The same room stayed on display. My room. Same desk. Same chair. Same arrangement of screens glowing in the dim light. Every tiny detail was perfect, down to the slight tilt of the monitor and the faint scratch on the wood. My chest tightened. No. The figure in the chair moved. It wasn't random. It wasn't a glitch. It was slow. Controlled. Intentional. Like it knew I was watching. A cold realization slid through me. Rule 1: do not interact with any screen. Too late. I had already tried to switch it. The figure's head tilted slightly. Just a fraction. Studying. My breathing grew shallow, uneven. This isn't possible. Then the other screens changed. Not one by one. All at once. Every feed shifted violently, like something had overridden the system entirely. The different locations, the different rooms, they all disappeared. Replaced. With the same room. My room. From different angles. Front. Side. Behind. My chest locked. Because one of them showed me. Sitting at the desk. Facing the screens. Exactly as I was now. My hands tightened around the controls, knuckles going white. Don't look. Rule 6: if you see yourself on a screen, leave the room immediately. I didn't move. I couldn't. Because if I stood, I'd have to turn. And if I turned. Rule 8: if a screen begins showing your room, do not turn around. My chest tightened harder, panic building into something suffocating. The rules were trapping me. Stay and break one. move and break another. There was no safe choice. The screens flickered once, then stabilized. Every single one showing the same scene, but not synchronized. Each version slightly off. In one screen, I hadn't moved yet. In another, my hand was already lifted. In another, the chair was empty. My stomach dropped. That's not right. The figure from the first screen stood up. Slow. Deliberate. Facing me directly now. Its face still hidden in shadow. The other screens didn't match it. Some still showed me sitting. Some showed nothing at all. Only one showed it standing. Which meant it wasn't just another version. It was separate. The figure took one step forward. The sound didn't come from the speakers. It came from the room. My chest froze. Because that meant it wasn't inside the screen anymore. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. The hum inside the walls grew louder, deeper, vibrating through the floor and into my bones. My breathing broke. Don't let it focus. That's what the man had said. But how do you stop something from focusing on you when it's already looking? The figure leaned closer to the screen. The shadows shifted. Just enough to reveal part of its face. My stomach dropped violently. Because it wasn't a different face. It was mine. But wrong. Eyes too dark. Smile too wide. Stretched into something unnatural. Like something had copied me. But didn't understand what a human face was supposed to be. The other screens reacted instantly. Every version of me stopped moving. Turned. All at once. Facing forward. Looking directly out. At me. My chest tightened painfully. Because now, it wasn't one thing watching me. It was all of them. The figure on the main screen raised its hand. Slowly. Mirroring my position. But I wasn't moving. It was. A second later. My hand twitched. Lifted slightly. Without my command. My breathing shattered. No. The movement synced perfectly. Not copying me. Leading me. The screen wasn't showing my actions anymore. It was deciding them. The whisper came. Soft. From the speakers. From the walls. From everywhere. Stay still. My body froze instantly. Not from fear. From control. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe properly. The figure smiled wider. Satisfied. The lights dimmed further, shadows pressing in from every corner. The room felt smaller. Tighter. Like the walls were slowly closing in. The screens flickered again. Then, one by one, they shut off. Until only one remained. The main screen. The one showing it. The one showing me. The figure leaned closer. Closer. Almost pressing against the inside of the screen. My chest tightened completely. Because I finally understood. Too late. This wasn't surveillance. This wasn't observation. This was alignment. And the moment it finished matching me, I wouldn't be the one sitting in this chair anymore. My hand was still raised. I didn't lift it. It stayed there anyway. My chest tightened, a slow crushing pressure building from the inside out. Stop. Nothing changed. On the screen, the figure lowered its hand. Slowly. Deliberately. A second later. Mine followed. Not a decision. Not even a reaction. A delay. Like my body was waiting for instructions that didn't belong to me anymore. My breathing broke into uneven pieces. Because it wasn't copying me. I was copying it. The screen flickered. Just once. But that was enough. The image sharpened, like something adjusting focus. Correcting. Improving. The version of me inside the screen became clearer. More defined. More solid. More real. And less like me. Its eye stayed forward. Unblinking. Unmoving. Locked onto something I couldn't see. Or maybe something I wasn't anymore. The whisper returned. Soft. Close. Too close. Stay aligned. My body stiffened instantly. Every muscle locked into place. Not natural. Forced. Like invisible hands were holding me still from the inside. The figure leaned back in the chair. Relaxed. Casual. My body followed. The chair creaked beneath me, the sound louder than it should have been. My chest tightened violently. This isn't happening. But it was. Because the other screens came back on. One by one. No sound. No warning. Each lighting up with a different version of the same room. Same desk. Same chair. Same me. But wrong. Slightly. On one screen. I was already leaning back. On another. My head had already turned. On another. The chair sat empty. My stomach dropped hard. There ahead. This wasn't random. Wasn't broken footage. The screens weren't showing possibilities. They were showing progression. Steps. Moments that hadn't happened yet. But would. The figure on the main screen tilted its head. Watching me. Me watching it. The delay shortened. Movement sinking faster. Closer. The gap shrinking. My breathing became shallow. Because I understood what that meant. If it reached 0, there would be no difference left. The figure smiled again. Wider this time. Too wide. Not human. The lights flickered hard. The hum inside the walls deepened into something heavier. Something alive. My vision blurred at the edges. The room didn't feel stable anymore. Like it was shifting just slightly out of place. The figure raised its hand again. This time. Mine moved with it. At the same time. No delay. My chest locked completely. No. The screens updated instantly. Every version of me matched. Perfectly. No variation. No delay. No difference. Just one movement. One action. Across everything. The whisper layered. Voices overlapping. All identical. All wrong. Almost. 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 My chest tightened painfully. Because that meant. This wasn't the end. It was a process. And it wasn't finished yet. The figure leaned forward. Closer to the screen. My body followed. No resistance. No hesitation. The glass reflected my face. For a second, I saw both of us. Me. And it. Aligned. Perfectly matched. Then something shifted. Subtle. But enough. My face stayed the same. But the eyes weren't mine. Too dark. Too still. Too empty. My breathing broke completely. Don't let it focus. But it already had. The screen flickered violently. The image stretched, distorted like something pulling from the inside. Then it snapped back. Clearer than before. Closer. Too close. The figure wasn't sitting anymore. It was standing. Right in front of the screen. My body didn't move. And somehow, that was worse. Because it meant it didn't need me anymore. It stepped forward. The screen didn't stop it. Didn't crack. Didn't resist. The surface rippled. Soft. Like liquid. My chest froze. Because the realization hit too late. The screen wasn't a barrier. It was a doorway. The figure pressed its hand against it. The surface bent inward. Like it was waiting to open. Like it always could. The whisper returned. Clear. Right beside my ear. Switch places. My chest collapsed inward. Air gone. Thoughts gone. Everything narrowing to one understanding. This was never about watching. Never about observing. It was about replacing. And I was already standing on the wrong side. The surface of the screen bent under its hand. Not cracking. Not breaking. Giving. Like it wasn't glass at all. My chest tightened violently. That's not possible. The figure pushed forward slightly. The distortion deepened. A ripple spreading outward from where it touched. My body didn't move. Didn't react. That was worse. Because it meant I wasn't in control anymore. The other screens flickered. Each one showing the same moment. From different angles. From inside the distortion. From its side. My stomach dropped. Because on one screen, I wasn't in the chair anymore. I was standing. Inside the screen. Looking out. The delay wasn't gone. It flipped. I wasn't catching up anymore. I was behind. The figure leaned closer. Its face clearer now. Mine. But wrong. Too still. Too precise. Like something had perfected it. The whisper returned. Soft. Step forward. My foot moved. A small shift. Enough. The chair creaked behind me. My chest tightened harder. Stop. Nothing stopped. The screen pulsed again. The ripple expanded. Edges softening. The frame around it losing definition. The boundary fading. The figure pressed further. Its arm pushing through. Not fully. But enough. Enough to prove it could. My breathing broke. Because the air in the room changed. Heavier. Distorted. Like something foreign had entered it. The lights flickered violently. The hum became unstable. A low static filled the space. The other screens reacted. Each one now showing a different stage. On one. It was already halfway through. On another. I was already gone. On another. The chair was occupied. My chest tightened painfully. Because I realized. This wasn't one timeline. It was all of them. Happening at once. And one of them would finish. The figure's hand reached further out. Past the surface. Into the room. The distortion followed it. Spreading across the air. Bending it. Warping it. My body stepped forward again. Closer to the screen. The distance shrinking. My control fading. The whisper layered again. More voices. All identical. Closer. A line. Complete. My chest tightened. Don't let it focus. Too late. It already had. The figure's fingers stretched. Longer than they should. Reaching. Toward me. The room felt smaller. Compressed. like everything was being pulled toward the screen. The floor shifted under my feet. Not moving. Tilting. Drawing me in. My breathing became uneven. Because I could feel it now. Not physically. Spatially. The direction of the room was changing. The screen wasn't in front of me anymore. It was becoming the center. The point everything moved toward. The figure stepped again. Half its body now through. Half still inside. Split between spaces. My chest froze. Because it wasn't forcing its way in. It was waiting. For me to complete it. My hand lifted again. Matching its position. Perfect. No delay. The final alignment. The screen pulsed once more. The ripple spread outward fully. Touching the edges of the room. The walls bent slightly inward. Everything focusing on one point. The screen. The figure leaned forward. Close enough now that I could see its eyes clearly. Empty. Not dark. Absent. Like something was missing. Like it needed something. The whisper came one last time. Clear. Inside my head. Your place. My chest collapsed inward. Because I understood. It didn't want to enter my world. It wanted me to enter its. The figure stopped moving. Waiting. My body stepped forward again. Right to the edge of the screen. Close enough to touch it. The surface shimmered. Not solid anymore. Not separate. Just a thin boundary. My reflection appeared faintly. For a second. It looked normal. Then it shifted. Behind my reflection. I saw the room. Empty. Chair filled. The figure sitting in it. Watching. My chest tightened violently. Because that meant I wasn't about to be replaced. I already was. My fingers touched the surface. It wasn't solid. It gave immediately. Like pushing into water. Cold, not temperature. Presence. My chest tightened violently. No. I tried to pull back. My arm didn't respond. The surface wrapped slightly around my hand. Holding it in place. Not tight. Not forced. Just accepted. The figure on the other side stopped moving. Watching. Waiting. The other screens flickered again. Each one now showing a different outcome. On one. I had already stepped through. On another. My body collapsed in the chair. On another. The room was empty. My breathing broke. They're deciding. The whisper answered instantly. You are. My chest tightened. Because I understood it too late. This wasn't forcing me. It was aligning me. Every version narrowing. Reducing. Until only one remained. The correct one. My arm moved forward. Deeper into the surface. Up to the elbow now. The distortion spread up my skin. Not pain. Not numbness. Absence. Like that part of me wasn't here anymore. The room behind me felt distant. Muted. The hum fading. The air thinning. The figure leaned closer. Its hand met mine. Perfectly aligned. Palm to palm. My chest locked. Because the contact wasn't resistance. It was seamless. No barrier. No difference. The boundary disappeared. My vision flickered. For a second, I saw both sides. The room behind me. And the one beyond the screen. Identical. But wrong. The angles didn't match. The depth felt deeper. Like the space continued beyond where it should end. The shelves? No. There were no shelves here. Just walls. Bare. Still. Empty. My body leaned forward. Without command. My shoulder passed through. The rest followed. My breathing shattered. Because the moment my head crossed, everything flipped. The room behind me became distant. Flattened. Like an image. A display. And the space I stepped into became real. The floor felt solid again. The air returned. Heavy. Unfamiliar. I stumbled forward slightly. Turned instinctively. That was a mistake. Rule 8. Do not turn around. Too late. I looked back. And saw it. The screen. On the wall. Showing the control room. Showing the chair. Showing me. Sitting in it. Perfectly still. Watching the screens. My chest froze completely. Because that meant I wasn't watching anymore. I was being watched. The figure sat in my place. My face. My body. Perfectly aligned. It didn't move. Didn't blink. Just observed. The screens in front of it flickered. Each one now showing something different. Different rooms. Different versions. Different observers. My stomach dropped. It's monitoring. The whisper returned. Soft. Close. From behind me. So are you. My chest tightened. Slowly. I turned. The room I stood in stretched outward. Not a single room. Rows. Endless. Each one with a screen. Each one with a chair. Each one with someone inside. Watching. Or being watched. Some empty. Some occupied. Some mid-transition. Half in. Half out. My breathing became uneven. Because I could see it clearly now. This wasn't one job. It was a system. Observers replacing observers. Continuously. The screen behind me flickered once. The version of me sitting there moved slightly. Adjusted in the chair. Settling in. My chest tightened painfully. Because that meant it was complete. The replacement finished. And I had taken the next position. A line appeared faintly on the wall in front of me. Text. Forming slowly. You are now observing. My throat went dry. Because I understood what came next. Another line followed. Do not let them notice you. My chest tightened. Because now I was the one on the other side of the screen. And somewhere, someone was about to look back at me. The room didn't feel like a room anymore. Not in any way that made sense. It felt layered. Not physically stacked, no walls above or below, but existing in overlapping planes that refused to fully separate. Like multiple realities occupying the same space, slightly out of sync, slightly misaligned. Rows stretched endlessly in both directions. Perfect rows. Each position identical. A chair. A screen. A person. Or something that used to be one. Some of them sat perfectly still, posture rigid, eyes locked forward. Watching. Always watching. Their faces were blank, drained of anything human. No curiosity. No fear. Just function. Others weren't fully there anymore. Half in the chair. Half inside the screen. Frozen mid-transition. Their bodies stretched unnaturally, like something had begun pulling them through the glass and stopped halfway. Their outlines flickered, unstable, as if they existed in two places at once and belonged to neither. My chest tightened. This isn't one place. The whisper came immediately. Soft. Close. Everywhere. It's not. I swallowed slowly, my throat dry. I took a step forward. The floor felt solid beneath my feet, real enough to hold my weight, but something about it was wrong. It didn't feel fixed. It didn't feel grounded. Like it didn't belong to a single direction. Each step didn't move me forward. It adjusted something. Alignment. The perspective shifted subtly, like the entire space reoriented itself around me instead of me moving through it. The screen in front of me flickered on. No input. No control. It didn't wait for permission. It showed a room. A concrete building. A dim hallway. A metal door at the far end. My chest tightened sharply. No way. I knew that place. Not from memory alone, but from experience. It was the same building. The same hallway. The same door I had walked through. The door opened. A person stepped inside. New. Unaware. My breathing became uneven as I watched them move. Because I recognized everything instantly. The hesitation in their steps. The way they scanned the hallway. The subtle tension in their shoulders. Same posture. Same curiosity. Same mistake. The system wasn't random. It was repeating. The screen zoomed slightly. Not mechanically. Not like a camera. Naturally. Like it wanted me to see more clearly. The person walked down the hallway. Slow. Careful. They reached the same door. The control room. A folded sheet in their hand. The rules. Something shifted inside me. Not emotion. Something deeper. Colder. Function. A need forming. To watch. To track. To ensure. The whisper returned, layered now, multiple voices speaking through the same tone. Focus. My eyes locked onto the screen. I didn't try to look away. Didn't try to resist. Because resisting didn't exist here anymore. The person entered the control room. Sat down slowly. Looked at the screens. I saw it clearly. The confusion. The exact same confusion I had felt. The screens around them flickered to life. And suddenly, I wasn't seeing just one angle. I was seeing all of them. Every screen. Every feed. Every version. From every direction. The person shifted slightly. Looked at one screen. Inside that screen, someone turned. Looked back at them. My chest tightened faintly. Not fear. Recognition. Echo. They reached for the controls. Switched it. Just like I did. The sequence began. One by one. More screens reacted. More figures turned. More eyes locked onto them. My breathing slowed. Not naturally. Not by choice. By design. The system was aligning. And I understood something now. Something I hadn't been meant to understand before. This wasn't random interaction. This was synchronization. A process. A progression. The moment the person in that room noticed enough screens, they would become visible here. To me. To this layer. The screen in front of me flickered again. For a fraction of a second, I saw myself. Not sitting. Not inside the room. Standing here. Watching. My chest tightened violently. Because that meant they were close. Closer than I had been when it happened to me. The alignment was accelerating. Inside the control room, the person froze suddenly. One screen didn't switch. My stomach dropped instantly. Because I knew that moment perfectly. The feed that doesn't change. The one that shows too much. The one that connects layers. The whisper came again. Softer now. Certain. They see you. My chest tightened painfully. That wasn't possible. It couldn't be. I wasn't in their room. I was above it. Beyond it. Watching it. Separate from it. The screen flickered again. And then, the person slowly lifted their head. Not toward the screen. Not toward anything inside their room. Through it. Through layers. Through distance. At me. My breathing stopped completely. Because in that moment, I realized something too late. Something I should have understood from the beginning. The rules didn't belong to one place. They weren't limited to one layer. They followed the pattern. They followed the connection. And the same rules still applied. If something looks back, you are already visible. The moment they looked at me, everything didn't just lock anymore, it settled, like reality itself had found the exact position it was always meant to occupy. There was no flicker, no distortion, no warning. The screen didn't behave like a screen anymore. It behaved like a surface that finally accepted what it was reflecting. My chest tightened, not from fear alone, but from recognition I couldn't explain. Their eyes weren't scanning the room, weren't searching for detail or meaning. They were fixed. Not on the camera. Not on the environment. On me. As if I had always been there, waiting inside their attention, waiting for the exact moment they would notice I was already part of what they were seeing. The whisper didn't arrive this time. It had no need to. It felt like language itself had been replaced with direct understanding. Something in me clicked into place with something in them, and the gap that normally separates observer and observed simply failed to exist. I tried to step back. My body initiated the movement, but the idea of back didn't resolve into anything real. There was no distance left. Not physically, not conceptually. It wasn't that I was stuck, it was that the structure defining where I ended had been removed. Space didn't refuse me. It simply stopped acknowledging the difference between positions. The layer I stood on shifted again, but not like a floor moving or a wall bending. It was subtler, more terrifying than motion. It was identity recalculating itself in real time. The screen in front of me was no longer in front. It was everywhere I could perceive. It wasn't a boundary anymore, it was the totality of available perspective. The frame dissolved without breaking. Edges didn't blur, they simply lost permission to exist. The separation between here and there collapsed into a single continuous awareness. My vision stuttered once, like a system failing to render two incompatible states at the same time. And then I saw it. I wasn't looking at them anymore. I was looking from them. Through them. At myself. Sitting in the control room. Watching. My breath hitched violently because the realization didn't arrive as thought, it arrived as structure. This wasn't observation. It wasn't surveillance. It was overlap. Two perspectives occupying the same coordinate until one of them becomes unnecessary. I blinked. And I was back. Or what felt like back. The control room reformed around me instantly, as if it had never left. The chair supported my weight. The desk was exactly where it had always been. The hum of the system returned like a familiar lie repeating itself convincingly enough to be believed again. My hands were on the controls. Already placed there. Already waiting. The screens in front of me glowed with quiet precision, each one showing different rooms, different observers, different angles of the same impossible structure. Everything looked stable. Everything looked correct. But I wasn't. Not fully. Something inside my body carried a delay, like my existence had been recompiled incorrectly and was still catching up to itself. My fingers flexed, and the movement felt slightly borrowed, as if I was witnessing the action a fraction before it became mine. I looked down at my hands. They looked right. Perfect, even. But correctness wasn't comfort. It was confirmation that something had already finished adjusting without my consent. The center screen flickered once. Not randomly. Purposefully. A room appeared, endless rows of identical stations, each occupied, each watching. Observers nested inside observers, screens reflecting screens, attention folding into itself like a loop that had forgotten where it started. And there, one figure stood out. Still. Focused. Watching me. Not the version of me in the room. Not the image. Me. The awareness hit slower this time, but heavier. Like gravity increasing after you've already learned how to stand. I wasn't being returned anywhere. I was being reassigned. Positioned. Moved forward through a structure that had no visible end, only continuity. The system didn't remove participants. It advanced them. Every observer eventually becomes the next observation point. My hand twitched toward the controls. Not forced. Not controlled. Just aligned. As if hesitation itself had been edited out. A screen shifted again. A new feed. A new observer. Sitting where I had once sat, calm, unaware, believing in distance that didn't exist. They turned slightly, eyes adjusting to something they couldn't yet name. And behind their gaze, I felt it begin again. That same faint recognition. That same silent tightening in the chest. Not fear this time. Memory forming too early. The whisper returned, not as sound, but as certainty settling into place. Continue. And I understood, finally without resistance, what the system had been doing all along. There was no escape path because there was no outside position to escape into. Only layers of awareness passing themselves forward, one observer at a time, each convinced they were watching until the exact moment they become what is being watched. My fingers pressed into the console. The next feed opened. And somewhere, in another identical room, someone looked up from their screen. And saw me looking back.